Hello and welcome to the Seahawkers podcast, live and uncatfished. I'm Brandon Schultz, and I am joined by my good buddy who went to this game with me live, and Memmert.
We did it. We made it. We got the win for the Seahawks, and we're taking all the credit. That's that. So, give us all the credit in the world for that. But what a cool game to go out and be a part of. The last couple times I had personally been out had been a loss. So awesome to see the Seahawks come out and take care of business, Brandon. And thank you for letting me sit in the premium seats this time. Like, that's the first time there. That was awesome, man. Like, What a cool view. What a cool place to be. Awesome venue, and the 12s were off the hook.
So I think the one thing that we learned then is that when we come to games, it inevitably rains.
Yeah.
But as long as we're undercover, we win.
That's exactly right. Yeah, that's what it is. It was being undercover for sure. That and the fact that the defense showed up and played pretty well throughout the game. Defensive line got some good pressure. That was fun to see. And then the offense slowly got it rolling throughout the game until they were really just punching it in towards the end of the game. And I don't know where else to start except for maybe the Ken Walker show. Is that where you want to start?
Ken Walker show would be a good one. The Geno show, despite all kinds of injuries to the offensive line. I'm going to start with Carly Perkins coming in with a $9.99 super chat. Was the reaction to the Bobo TD/Lockett 2-pointer as intense at the game as it was in my living room? After a game of almost no Lockett, having that back-to-back was so good. He yelled so loud. What a game. Oh, man, Carly, that the Bobo touchdown was a glorious thing. I think that was probably the most amount of texts that I got during the game was with the Bobo toe tap. But then also to follow that up with Geno doing his best Russ with the double spin move, and then, a la to Luke Wilson in the NFC Championship game, throwing it up to Tyler Lockett in the back of the end zone, who did an amazing job of making it seem like the ball wasn't even coming to him, especially after all that time. I'm sure the defensive back who wasn't even looking was like, when is this play actually going to be over? And it ended up just going right to Tyler. He makes a great move, makes a great catch, and they get the 2-pointer.
Oh, man, to answer Carly's question, it was off the hook. I don't know if it rivaled your living room or anything like that, but gosh darn it, man. Like, that was awesome. The toe tap from Bobo was outstanding. If that's not on Toe Drag Swag with Burleson, I will be surprised. And then you talked about Tyler on the 2-pointer in the rope-a-dope, basically, that he played there. And fighting through contact and getting that 2-point conversion, that was amazing. It was just an amazing veteran play. It was a lot of fun to watch. And, yeah, the stadium was electric.
Well, if we're going to also talk about that same series, that was the series where we saw Zach Charbonnet bounce it out to the left side. And instead of he ended up going out of bounds, but I could completely forgive it with the fact that, yes, he should have been trying to stay in bounds and run clock, but he unloads on the Carolina Panthers defender, and he goes flying through the air backwards at least 5 yards into the end zone. And it was a fun play.
It was a fun play, man. I love that physical running style. And then you pair that with the electric Ken Walker. He was outstanding today, getting to the edge like he does. It was a lot of fun. I do see one comment here saying that we did our job judging by our voices, and that is true. I think we had a great day and a great performance throughout the day, but the 12s as a whole did, man. 8 false starts during the game created by the 12s, because, yes, we are taking all the credit for that. The record was 11. We were gunning for it after they put it on the screen, no doubt about it, but the 12s were on fire. The team was on fire. It was great to go into a fourth quarter and not be completely stressed throughout the game. Unlike at halftime, down 13-12, with it being the Jason Myers show, which is nothing that any of us want to see.
No, although with it being the Jason Myers show, the fact that he showed up and performed during his show, that was okay.
It was no missed field goals, and that turned out to be important early on and kept the Seahawks kind of in the game despite red zone struggles. That was a little bit frustrating early on. But the defense really did well throughout the first half and through the game as a whole. The one touchdown that was given up, I don't know exactly what Quandre was thinking on that. He had the receiver and matched up with him, had him stride for stride, and was easily there, and then suddenly just let him go. I think he thought he had help deep, which obviously I don't know the assignments or the schemes or any of that sort of thing. But as the free safety, how often do you have help over the top?
No, you are the help.
You are the help. Exactly. You are the man.
We've got Ryan 911, our Ryan 911 coming in with a $9.99 super chat. Our live executive producer. What a game, into the 12s who brought it all game long. Bet it was amazing in person. And Adam is not wrong when it comes to the stats showing that we had 8 false starts with 11 as the record. After about, I'd say 4 or 5, it progressively ramped up, especially as it was either their left tackle or right tackle.
I think it was Equano, right? Equano, there it is. Yep.
Was continuously false starting. And I think part of it too, it wasn't, and you can give some credit to the crowd, the 12s, obviously, but you can give a lot of credit to Boye Mafe, who had a crazy game. It's not going to show up in the stats in terms of tackles, or I think he had 1 tackle for a loss. I think he had 1 pass breakup. But I think at one point I was listening to Rabel say that he had some 10 pressures on the day, and that was sometime in the late third or early fourth quarter.
Yeah, Mafe had a great game and was wrecking shop in the backfield. But let's give some credit to some of the other defensive linemen, because I think the defensive line had probably their best game of the season so far. Jaron Reed, what a difference Jaron Reed makes, man. I mean, he was just owning the interior of the Panthers offensive line. That was awesome to see. And then let's give a little credit to Mario Edwards too. Towards the end of the game, he was the man. I mean, he was definitely setting up shop in the backfield of the Carolina Panthers and making Andy Dalton's life a little bit miserable. One thing I remember Pete saying after week 1 in the poor performance by the pass rush was he wasn't so much concerned about sacks and pressures and things like that, that he wanted the quarterback to feel their presence. And I was kind of like, all right, that's hokey, whatever, man. Like, yeah, we want sacks and pressures, but you could see it throughout the game. I mean, Andy Dalton at some point, like, he was starting to get knocked off his spot a little bit and rushing his throws and, taking things underneath. And it really did show throughout the game. And I thought the defensive front did a great job.
Well, one of the plays that I distinctly remember being kind of emblematic of how the defensive line was playing early on in the game was one where Edwards drove back his offensive lineman into the backfield, and it was Jaron Reed who came over, looping behind him, and then took down Miles Sanders. And when you look at the stats at the end of the day, you had Miles Sanders 9 carries, 24 yards, average under 3 yards per carry. And Chuba Hubbard had 1 carry. Like, the guy that we were worried about gets 1 carry for 2 yards on the day. And so, Miles Sanders, Chuba Hubbard combined for a total of 10 rushes.
Yeah, that was impressive. Shout out to the DCH from across the living room here. Hey, what's up, buddy? Get the chat in there. We appreciate that. But they did a great job against Miles Sanders, and he seemed to get frustrated throughout the game. And I can't believe the Panthers can't figure out that Chuba Hubbard is definitely the more effective back and the more physical back. But thank goodness they didn't, and the Seahawks were able to contain the run game. In terms of containing the passing game, a little bit of the Witherspoon show today. They tested the young rookie early and often, and he showed up.
He ended up leading the team in tackles, which tells you that they were going his direction pretty often. But and they had some success, but quite a few times. I mean, he had 2 pass breakups on the day, and he had 1. It felt like more. He had 1 pass interference call that was
bullshit.
That was BS.
Yeah.
And but Pete held it together well enough on that. And we got Sam Gelber coming in with a $12 super chat with the W. Thank you, Sam.
Appreciate that. Kale says you guys sound hoarse. Yeah, we do.
Well, when you try yelling at very loudly for 4 straight quarters, although I think when we were up 10, I started taking a little bit of time off.
I
took
did
few
you?
plays off.
It's always compete. You got to win it in the fourth quarter, Brandon. No, I definitely early on in the game, I felt like I was saving my voice just for third downs, like mainly, and we had a lot of those. So
Ryan 911, Charbs, and K9 going to be fun to watch. Yeah, with Kenneth Walker racking up nearly 100 yards on the ground. He had over 100 yards on the day when you look at his receiving yards and his rushing yards. Getting outside on that one long pass down the sideline, and then also a couple touchdowns on the day. So yeah, between Ken Walker, and it was funny. I was watching when you were taking Clinton to the airport. We were watching a little top billing.
Yeah,
and he had the play where the corner crashes down, and it looks like Ken Walker is just going right off tackle, and the corner crashes down, and he does a little step back. And the corner completely whiffs, which allowed him to get outside for that 40-yard run. And then when you combine that, the fact that he gets 18 touches just on the ground, he gets another few catches through the air, and then Charbonnet can come in and get 9 yards and just unload on dudes. It makes for a fun combination.
It surely does. And you talked about the idea of how many touches he had on the ground and through the air. One of the more interesting highlights was K9 catching the ball out of the backfield and then putting that wicked spin move kind of on the
staying on his feet.
That was awesome. MG had a comment in here saying, do I want to say the naughty word screen? Yes, I do, screen. And they had a screen and it worked. And I remember like looking at the dude in front of me, like on the road, I was like, was that a screen? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, did it work? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I can die a happy man. Yeah.
Is the false start counter up? I don't know if the actual counter, because I think they stopped doing it once maybe we weren't the top any longer. So yeah, but they did remind us that we had the record. So yeah,
it was a fun game overall, man. No doubt about it. Yeah, the idea of needing to bring somebody in on the O-line. I mean, going into the game with as many backups as we had starting, and then watching them drop like flies throughout the game. We were talking about it before the game when we realized that Phil Haynes was going to be out. And I was like, okay, who's going to play right guard? Who's going to, and I'm coming up with like ridiculous things like, well, you move Everett Brown over, then you put Olu in, and like, because I don't know who else we have. And then it was like, oh, wait, we all forgot about Anthony Bradford, who came in and actually played pretty well. He got injured at one point throughout the game, but came back. And I think he had a good showing overall.
Was it Bradford that got injured? There were so many injuries.
They all got injured. It seemed like Damian got injured.
Damian Lewis got injured, and they brought out the dude who I didn't even know who he was. And yeah, with the way that, and the offensive line, they played well enough, especially when you consider it was Evan Brown was the one healthy dude out there and still able to get over 100 yards, 150 yards rushing, and Geno able to, let's talk about Geno for a minute, because Geno is able to put in, okay, the first half wasn't great, but I think he was perfect in the second half, except for one throw, and it was a throwaway.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And early on, you talked about the pressure, and there were so many guys coming just either unblocked or just winning really quickly off the edge. Stone had a couple rough reps early in the game, but seemed to pull it together, and it really did help the offense's continuity. The time of possession is something that we've harped on over the first couple of weeks, and even last year that was one of the big things. And it was actually pretty even all the way out through the first half. And then, I think it got a little more lopsided close to the end of the game. I haven't seen the final stats.
Yeah. Ryan on Brandan can go to Brandan this week for causing 8 false starts. It was all me, but you can tell just by whose voice is more hoarse, probably mine.
Yeah, it is.
Who did more work on the day.
Oh, no, and that's true. I mean, Brandan always does all the heavy lifting, and I'm kind of a slacker, but can I at least get a hockey assist?
Absolutely.
Okay.
How about Sam Marcoux coming into the chat? Dolphins fan joining us on the show.
Oh, what up, Sam? It's been a minute. Yeah.
How about yes, please beat the Niners. Yes, I hope that's also the case. But since Sam is in the chat, How about the Dolphins day?
How about the Dolphins day and that 70 burger on the Broncos? I texted Bronco Jared throughout the game, like as I'm seeing that score get racked up, and he didn't answer his text for a long time until he finally did. And he said, I don't think this team deserves my fandom this year. And he was out. But that was historical, man. Like, unbelievable.
Yeah, wild game, 70 points. And it's a performance like that where you can't put it on Russell Wilson at all because Russell Wilson does not play defense.
He surely doesn't. Somewhere here in Seattle tonight, Ejiro Evero, the defensive coordinator now for the Panthers, has a big smile on his face because he let that Bronco team eat last year in terms of defense and only giving up like 16 points a game or somewhere in there, and they give up a 70 burger today. Holy smokes.
Alex Simmons coming in with the question. Are you guys streaming from a spaceship?
This is real. This is real. Yeah. We're sitting here with the Grays and some reptilians. And you know what? They're pretty cool.
Christopher Best with a 12-12 super chat saying amazing showing from the 12s. Obviously, the defense leaves something to be desired. Can Jamal Enrique's return transform the defense? I think it has a shot just because with what we've seen the pieces start to come together. We saw some Cam Young out there today playing nose tackle. So hopefully with his presence, it makes a difference. Once that all starts to come together and you see these guys gelling a little bit more, the defensive line getting things done, that they can build on this performance with Jaron Reed and being able to really stuff the run. I mean, it's tough when you can say that maybe it wasn't a great defensive performance because they gave up so many passing yards to Andy Dalton. But dude threw 58 times. And
holy crap, seriously?
I think it was 58 for 361 yards. Yeah, he was 34 of 58 for 361 yards.
Holy smoke. So this is as much prep that I did for this live show. I haven't looked at any of the stats. It did not feel like Andy Dalton threw for 360 yards. Like it was a lot of dink and dunk.
Dink and dunk, but also hitting wide open dudes randomly when they blew coverages.
That's true. That's true. And a lot of that was Adam Thielen. Like he was pretty effective as an old dude, and he got his, but they were able to keep the damage to a minimum and really only giving up one touchdown of significance. That touchdown towards the end of the game, I mean, we all know that was garbage time. All of us were pretty relaxed at that point.
Yeah, I would have preferred, though, to not give it up. Like, it's okay to just roll on a 10-point lead and close out a team. That would be just fine with me.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Teams seem to be pretty good on fourth down today, too, in terms defensively. Give them some credit for that.
Yeah. Scott Campbell Photography coming in. And $7.99 Australian super chat. Good day, boys. What a great win with a ton of injuries to overcome. Go Hawks.
Yeah, good day, man. And that's one thing that I don't think you can overshadow here is that the Hawks came into this game a little bit of the walking wounded. And like Clinton throughout the day was just like, hey, let's check the injury report again. Are any of these guys coming back? It's like, dude, I don't think anybody's magically getting healthy here in the next like 3 hours before game time. And they were able to overcome that. And it does show the depth of this team. And I think that was one of the things that as a whole, us 12s were excited about coming into the season was overall depth of this team. And it really did show out in this game because even the backups, they really did play at a very high level.
Well, and against this defensive line, and you saw Stone Forsythe have some problems with Brian Burns, which is, I think, what we expected in this game.
I had problems with Brian Burns. That dude's a beast.
I know, and the middle of their defense. So there were times where they were able to get after Geno. But, yeah, when you consider we're significantly testing the depth of the offensive line, and they're doing okay. Especially, I think the thing that was most that made me the most optimistic was the idea that we could run the ball and move the ball that way, throw a successful screen pass.
Not
a lot from when we talk about this, the screen pass, it was one of those screens to JSN that went for 10 yards, and that was his only catch for 10 yards on the day.
Yeah, interesting that they haven't gotten JSN more involved earlier. And, as 12s, it's difficult when you see Puka doing what he's been doing for the Rams. And but then again, why would you be giving him a ton of touches when you have DK cracking 100 yards early in the game. I mean, DK had a whale of a game playing through some pain with the rib injury.
Right. He had the rib injury. He gets 6 receptions, 112 yards, and he was just settling down in zones in this game and catching everything just about everything that went his way that was within his reach. Tyler Lockett, he only had 3 catches for 34 yards. He had 7 balls thrown his way, but a lot of those were throwaway type passes. He had one that I don't know if it went off his shoulder pad or if it was a great play by the defender, but when Tyler, well, a lot of the balls were going to the tight ends in this game with Noah Fant, 4 catches, 41 yards, Parkinson, 3 catches, 38 yards. It felt like Parkinson had more than 3 catches in this game. So I don't know if some of those were called back that I'm forgetting about, but it seemed like a good day from the Titans.
Yeah, it's late. I'm a few beers in. I can't remember exactly, but Parkinson did seem to have a big impact throughout the game. I know throughout the game, DCH was like, let's get Tyler involved. Where's Tyler? Let's go with Tyler. And they didn't need it. They were going to other places. One thing that I'll give Shane Waldron some credit for is towards the end of the game, we saw him bring out that 2 tight end package in the backfield to the right of Geno Smith. I love this formation. Might be my new favorite thing in football. And it is so much fun to see the creativity that he brings out of that formation. And they use it in this case at the end of the game to really seal the game. And I thought that was awesome.
Yeah, I think we'll probably be seeing that more. Well, hopefully, if they have some big leads toward the end of the game. Christopher Stuvstad in with the $4.99 super chat. Glad they honored the 2013 team this weekend. Also, good game, Panthers. Good luck this season, and be happy you're not the Broncos today. That's about every team in the league, and it was really cool the way they honored the 2013 team. They had highlights going on throughout the game. They brought out the receiving group for special recognition at one point of the game.
Yeah, good to see Golden again and Jermaine. Yeah, man, that was awesome.
And at halftime, they paraded everybody out who showed up from that 2013 team. And then
KJ had a cool speech.
KJ had a cool halftime speech. And the thing that I thought was the coolest was Reed paying tribute to Cam Chancellor with his, after a big play, he was doing the Bam Bam Cam move. We got to see him do the Michael Bennett 2 pumps.
Yeah, that was the best. I laughed my ass off on that one, no doubt about it.
So all cool tributes, and it showed up from some of the players on the field as well.
Oh, for sure. I know we'll get a lot more into this game when we break it down on the flagship and get into 3 in, 3 out with Clinton and all that stuff. But I want to give Clinton a shout out here just real quick because he had his flight an hour earlier than he thought, and he mixed a zombie White Claw. These are like 2 different flavors mixed together. Remember a zombie when you were a kid? You went to the fountain pop and put like all of them in there. Yeah. This is fucking delicious.
Marcus Milligan, my buddy here, is a Panthers fan, and how much time had to throw before one or more Hawks was in his face. Averaged 2 seconds. Insane play from the front. And whether it was Boye Mafe, whether it was Jaron Reed, the one guy
Mario
who we
Edwards,
didn't, Mario, we didn't see a lot of Nwosu was the only guy. But when you have it from all those other guys, I'm sure he'd probably go back and see Nwosu getting pressure too.
That my guess is when we go back and we actually look at it, that Nwosu was taking a lot of the double teams. One thing that would seem concerning is that Draymond was reported as injured throughout the game, and
he went to the locker room at one point in the game.
Okay, yeah. Did he come back into the game? Because it's questionable, is what I saw on my phone throughout the game. It's a lot harder to keep track of this shit in person. I was going to tell you that straight up.
60 plus people watching, only 14 likes. Clearly, we need to do better. Yes, please subscribe to the show if you're following us out on YouTube. Check out our website, seahawkerspodcast.com/subscribe. Yeah, cool seeing you guys at the game. I'm worried how banged up we are after this game. That's really the big concern. And gosh, it has you thankful for the early bye week when normally you look at the calendar and you're like, early bye week. I think they're going to need it this year.
I heard KJ talk about it, and they had asked him, despite the injuries and everything, are you happy about the early bye week? And he's like, no. And I was like, I disagree, bud. Like, I really appreciate this early bye week coming up because we are just as banged up as we are. It was cool meeting Craig, man. Like we were just walking down the street and saw him on a street corner. That was awesome, dude. Like enjoy your route at UPS there Monday morning, man. Hope it's not too bad for you on the drive back to Spokane.
Oh, we met so many other 12s too.
Oh, tons of you guys, man. It was awesome.
A blast. We had a couple folks from Hawaii who we ran into at the game.
Yeah.
And what a blast.
I thought I called off the curse. See, that's the thing. Is like I only made it for a season. Like this seems like it's out of my hands at this point. I'm not taking any more credit.
No, I don't think that you could take credit for this.
No,
one.
I don't want to.
This is not you.
No.
Still spanked the Kitties. Anemic defensive performance in the second half.
I don't know that it felt that way in person. That it was anemic in the second half. Like it felt like the defense was holding their own up until the game was more or less in hand.
Well, they took their foot, like as well as they played in the third quarter, I felt. Then they kind of took the foot off the gas in the fourth quarter, especially after they're up by 10. Yeah,
well, I mean, you're up by 10. You're playing the clock and just trying to get out of there with a win.
People really concerned about where we are.
Okay, all right.
This just happens to be the Airbnb that we rented, and we're in the kitchen, and it's a very spacey pattern. It seemed like a fun backdrop, and this is just where we ended up setting up.
Yeah. I don't know where the Amley building is, though, so I don't know. Is that somewhere in Seattle?
I don't know.
Yeah, we're there. Come see us, Andrew.
Carly saying one of my best friends is a Giants fan, so I hate having to play them next week. We're going to kick their ass regardless. And
Carly. Car. Let's talk about this here for a second. Okay, so I talk about Bronco Jared all the time, right? Like every time the Hawks played the Broncos, you know what I didn't feel bad about when we beat them, like consistently, like we usually do? Bad. I didn't feel bad because, they deserve it. And now, while I'm sure your best friend is a lovely person, she also has a personality flaw, and that's not your fault.
Yeah, give her a break.
Yeah.
Hawk 808, big dub. The 12s are back. Love watching Charbs sending that defensive back into another planet.
And it's interesting too, because throughout the game, especially early on, every time that Charbonnet came in for like extended periods, they brought him in for like the majority of a drive here and there. And I think that's a smart idea in terms of letting him get his rhythm, but also too, you saw Ken Walker having success, and you're like, no. Yeah. Like, get him back out. Let's get Kenny Walker back out there.
But he had 18 carries, so you do have to. You can't have him out there for 30 carries. I mean, you want to spread out.
Yeah, he was probably better spread.
Andrea Springer, thank you for the 99-cent join. Preston with a $5 super chat. Great win today. Can't wait to take my wife and son to the game in Baltimore.
Ooh.
Go Hawks. And cool spaceship, guys.
Hey, thank you. We're visiting a star system near you. Now, you've been to the stadium there in Baltimore, Brandan, a number of times back in the day. Like, any advice for them when they're going to the stadium there?
Maybe. Okay. If I'm gonna give any advice, don't try and park yourself. Like, find a place out of town where you can take an Uber into the stadium, so that way you have someone with experience get you to the stadium. I drove as many times as I drove to downtown Baltimore to the stadium. I would always end up getting turned around, ending up in a part of town that I shouldn't be. And I think now, and that was before Uber. So I think that's what I recommend now.
Oh, there we go.
Also, I got the biggest parking ticket I've ever gotten.
Oh, really?
I parked in.
Captain Rules got a ticket?
I parked illegally. I thought I was in this place, a spot where I was fine, but it was a permit parking only neighborhood, and I did not have a permit.
Oh, well. Yeah, now you know better. You know what you did.
Andrea tried to super chat. My husband did a Patreon this week, and we were both there today. We made the Panthers fan next to us leave.
Yeah.
At least my loud but respectful husband did.
Hey, there you go. You guys were doing your jobs. Sorry I missed you, Andrea. I wish we would have met up with you.
Let's see. Oh, yeah. MG making a good call out on Lockett. So, two of those 7 throws that went to Lockett were not great Geno throws.
That one to the end zone.
The one to the end zone, as soon as it left Geno's hands,
No.
everybody was like, oh, no, that is not throwing to Tyler. And Tyler comes in and makes a great play. Also had a nice play over the middle. So, yeah, for at least, I don't know how you credit that, but yeah, at least 2 pass breakups.
Yeah, so Tyler Lockett with 2 PBUs on Geno Smith, and somehow that's a good thing.
Somehow.
Yeah.
Ryan saying, I think we'll get JSN more involved when our line is healthy and we don't have to play with extra tight ends to help the Packers.
See, now Ryan with some facts, logic, and reason right there. That's why he is the live executive producer. So, like, I kept thinking, I was like, I don't know that it's an O-line thing, the reason why that they aren't getting JSN involved, but that makes a lot of sense in terms of playing a little bit more 12 and 13 personnel. But even still, when they're out there in 11 personnel and JSN is out there, it doesn't look like he's getting a crap ton of separation on the regular, or Geno's just not looking his way. But it's just kind of surprising to see it be, I don't know, I'm not going to say disappointing. I think that's totally,
it's early,
hyperbolic, right? Like, it's just, you're like, man, I kind of thought we'd get more out of this guy early on.
You wanted more.
Yeah, we wanted more. Maybe that's the better way to put it.
But then we got Jake Bobo, and we got a Jake Bobo touchdown in this game. So
yeah, more Bobo.
But I didn't think that Bobo would get his first touchdown before JSN did.
Oh my gosh, that just happened.
That happened today.
I didn't even think about it in those terms, but you're 100% right.
37 points last week, 37 today. Good stuff. They need to keep it going against the Giants coming up. If you get a win against the Giants on Monday Night Football, you have to feel good going into the bye, 3-1. And while we're looking ahead to the Giants, Danny Primetime, not the greatest when it comes to primetime.
Nah, Danny Dimes is more like Danny Pennies. And even though he had the big comeback against the Cardinals, like, I don't fear them. I don't know where Saquon is with his injury and whether or not he'll be back by then. But it is nice to feel like you can get right against, or not even get right. You're right now. You're on a 2-game winning streak, but continue that against the Giants and get to 3-1, get to the bye week, get healthy, and then really make a push and get into the playoffs and make some hay.
Ryan, executive producer, saying we should do more of these late reactions. It's more fun after Adam's had a few drinks.
Is it now? Because it's really hard to string together thoughts, and I'm glad that you guys are all having fun with it. So,
and What the Smell, listen to the game via play-by-play on YouTube, had family at the game. Good job being loud. Oh, it was so loud. It was so much fun.
It was.
All right. Well, really appreciate everybody tuning in. Yes, give us a like, a subscribe, and yes, with the Giants coming up, and then we've moved on from spanking the kitty. We are now spanking the big fellow.
Spanking the big fellow. That has some connotations I'm not sure that I'm totally comfortable with. But at the end of the day, yeah, let's put the Giants down and get to 3-1.
Embrace it, Adam.
Oh, I am embracing it. I'm spanking the big fellow right now.
And I think with that,
there's only one thing left to say.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.